Hello students, good morning everyone. I am Anamika, your bio teacher, and today we will continue the same chapter, that is nutrition in plants. And today's topic is symbiosis. Earlier we have discussed about the other mode of heterotrophic nutrition like parasitic and saprophytic. Today I am going to discuss symbiosis, or it is also known as symbiotic relationship. So what is symbiosis? That is a relationship between two living organisms or different living organisms in which, that means they living close to one another, depending on each other, and also benefiting, that means get benefited from each other in particular ways. Then this type of the relationship between two organisms, that is called symbiosis. Example is lichen, and that is the combination of the algae and fungi, and rhizobium bacteria, leguminous plants. There are various other examples also. So let's see. Actually, when you see around your surrounding, then various types of the living organisms, they interact with each other. And on the basis of that, the types of symbiosis, that means it is maybe of three types. One is mutualism. That means in which both species benefited. Example is human and gut bacteria. Actually, various bacteria are present in our intestine, and they helpful. How they helpful for the human? Because they helps in the process of digestion, and in return, that means they are getting food and shelter also. So this relationship is called mutualism. Next is commensalism. Commensalism, that means the relationship between two organisms in which one is benefited while other is not affected. That means it is not getting harm or any benefits from the other living organisms. Examples are shark and remora. Actually, shark, when they eat the small fishes, the remora fish, that is also take the nutrition, whatever that is left by the shark fish. So in this way, that means shark is not getting affected by this, but remora, that are they are getting food from the shark. Next is sea anemone and clownfish. Actually, clownfish, they hide themselves in the tentacles of the sea anemone. So in this way, they protect themselves from their predators. But in return, sea anemone, that means they don't have any effect. So this is also the example of commensalism. Next is parasitism. I think we have discussed earlier about that. That means combination of the two organisms in which one organisms that is getting benefited and other is getting harm. That means parasites, they are taking food and shelter from the host, but in return they give some harm. That means either if they are the pathogens, they may cause the various diseases. Suppose when we take the example of the dodder, earlier we had discussed, that is a plant. So that is a parasite. So it also take the nutrients from the host plant. So in this way, that means that affect the host plants of the growth and development. So these are the different types of symbiosis. Now one by one we will see the example of them. Lichen and rhizobium bacteria and leguminous plant. So lichen, that is the combination of algae and fungi. Actually, fungal component, that means mainly on the base part, they provide water and minerals and support to the algal component, and algal component, that is on the topmost position. And all of you know that algae, they are photosynthetic in nature, so they can prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis like all the green plants. Actually, algae are called the first plant, that means, and for this, fungi, they are helping the algae. How? That means by providing them water and minerals. And in return, algal component, they provide them food and that means they provide food to the fungal component. So these are the example of the symbiotic relationship. Next is rhizobium bacteria and leguminous plants. Do you know about the leguminous plants? Leguminous plants, that means pulses yielding plant, and rhizobium bacteria, that is one of the type of the nitrogen fixing bacteria. Rhizobium bacteria can take the atmospheric nitrogen and convert into the usable forms. Actually, in atmosphere, the percentage of nitrogen is very high. All of you know about the composition of air, that is 78%. But that is in gaseous form, that is an inert gas, and plants cannot take that nitrogen directly. So first it should be converted into soluble form. So what Rhizobium bacteria can do, that means they turn the atmospheric nitrogen into the soluble forms in the forms of the nitrates or nitrites, and they are present in the root nodules of the leguminous plants like peas, beans, mung, etc. And in this way, that means they provide nitrogen to the leguminous plant. All of you know that the pulses, they are the rich source of protein, and nitrogen is one of the major component of protein. So these plants require nitrogen for making their protein, and in this that means Rhizobium bacteria are helping the leguminous plants. Now it may be clear from this picture. I think in this picture you are seeing this green one. This is the Rhizobium bacteria, and this is the root of the leguminous plants. This is the root nodules. So Rhizobium bacteria mainly lives here. That is in the root, that is the underground part. Okay, so that means it provides nitrogen into soluble forms to the plants, and in return plants provide food and shelter to the bacteria. So this is also one of the example of symbiosis. Now our next topic is how nutrients are replenished in the soil. Replenish, that means to fulfill, okay, the loss that is happening, to, you can say, the Chati Purti, for growth and development. Not only that means for human beings, for plants also some essential minerals or nutrients are required, which is categorized in two groups: macronutrients, which are required in large amount, and micronutrients, which are required in a small amount or less amount. And plant, they obtain these nutrients and minerals from the soil. So what happens when we grow the same kinds of crops repeatedly in any field? It causes the declining of the nutrients in the soil. It decreases the fertility of the soil and also affect the crop production. That means crop yields falls. So what are the different methods by which nutrients can be replenished in the soil? First is using manures. All of you know that manures, they are made by the decomposition of the plant waste and animal waste. Example is cow dung, and they are, that means eco-friendly. They does not harm the plants. They also improve the texture of the soil. So by providing manures, we can replenish the nutrients in the soil. Next is by using fertilizers. Fertilizers are the chemical substances like urea, phosphate, ammonium, nitrate, and time to time farmer also add fertilizers to the soil to improve the fertility or replenish the nutrient. The third method is by crop rotation method. Crop rotation. Rotation, that means the practice of growing crops, cereal crops and leguminous crops in any field or in alternate manners. So that means between two cereal crops, one leguminous crop should be planted in any field. And do you know that leguminous plants, they are called the green manures. So that means if we grow the leguminous crops in any field, this is same in the ways, that means they providing nutrient or manures to the plant. So that's why leguminous plants are called green manure. Okay, I think now the chapter is over. In our next video, we will discuss about the question answer and whatever that activity that is left in this chapter. Thank you, students. If you have any doubt, you can ask in my online classes. Thank you.